So, social media, kickstarting on social media. The first thing I'm going to say is whatever I talk about today, I'm going to assume that whatever you're sharing on social media is already approved, has already been published, is correct, it's accessible, and it's relevant. And these points are really important, and they really do help with making your content on social media engaging. And it's all about just really simple steps that you can take to make sure that you do improve your engagement on social media. And actually, some of you on this call probably know a bit more about social media than I do. I'll go through some of the steps. I will give you an insight into what we have found to be quite popular. And then I'll also include some disclaimers because sometimes you can do all the steps and it still doesn't work, which is just something you have to ride when you're working on social media. So, and yeah, I'll get through that as I come to it. So the first thing you need to do when you post on social media, so this is LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, if you want to go down that beat. We've only ever secured our name on TikTok, but we don't have any presence there at all. You want to secure your reader's attention, and you're in a place where it's a very distracting place on social media, and it's all about the next big thing, the next interesting thing, and people are just mindlessly scrolling through all the content, and they'll like, share, or click on something they find interesting. So how do you do that? A big one of the first thing you need to do is make sure you know what you're sharing and you know the content that you're sharing, and to give yourself some time to look through the content itself, and then try and reframe. So rather than saying, here's a glossary, why don't you look at the content and say, oh, so what is somebody going to learn, and why should they actually click on this piece of content? And I'll show you some examples that have worked for us. And if you reframe it as you're solving a problem for them, or you're asking a question that they might have actually too, then they will go, oh, so what's the answer to that question, or what's the solution to that problem? And then they'll click on it, and Bob's your uncle, you've got a click to your resource and you've shared it. So you can frame the first sentence as a question. You can also go with a quote from the content itself. And usually there is, even in published papers or a resource, there is in the introduction, in the executive summary, in the conclusion, there is some really good content in there. So there's a really good sentence or something that explains the context, is a summary. It, just sort of takes the reader back a step and starts at step one to tell them what this is all about. And then they might be like, oh, okay, I'm interested in this, I want to read more. The other suggestion is to use a bold statement. This is, I'll be careful treading this one, but usually it does work if you have a bold statement. And obviously we all know that social media is can have a very campaigny feel about it. And if you have a campaign, if you have a strong opinion, you're more likely to get some engagement. It's not quite what we're about on the Global Health Network. We don't really do campaigning or political stuff on there. But sometimes there's a bold statement like, pregnant women were affected during COVID. Is this true? Is it not true? And then we just go on to redirect to the resource itself. And then you've got an appeal, which is like a call to arms, people to, complete a survey to help you out, to help their fellow colleagues out and things like that. But it's all about them, help. It's all about the reader, and it's never about you. So, and the tricky thing that we find in academia and in a lot of work that we do, there's the grant application and there's a funding bit which says we will do this and we will complete this. But then that language can't be taken straight into social media. You can't say, oh, and this is, it doesn't really read well for the audience. You're not talking to them. You sound like you're talking to a funder, or. So it's always good to just think about who you're talking to, who you want to attract, and how you'll frame the first sentence or the post itself to them. So here are some examples. And these are, so I'll go through them. So the first one is Happy New Year, going back to basics. Why and how is clinical research carried out? Why is ethics in research important? This was the first sentence to a post about, this was a post to one of our e-learning courses, and it was literally an introduction to clinical research. So rather than say, here's the course, please take it, it's, we are grabbing their attention, and a lot of people were really interested. Oh, so why is research carried out? And ethics is always a very interesting topic for people. And then there was, if you are, the next one is, are you involved in clinical research and looking for an introduction to adverse event and how to deal with them when they occur? Again, that was to an e-learning course. What is data management? That was to another e-learning course about data management. Rather than say, e-learning course, take it here, introduction to data management, it was also, we asked the question, and then we say to them, and if you want to know the answer, so to speak, we don't say if you want to know the answer, but we say find out more, or this free e-learning course will tell you, and then we add a link to it. The next one, have you seen recent updates to clinical studies, international guidelines? This was the opening sentence for a webinar that we ran with the Global Health Clinical Consortium and PCMG, and I don't know what their full name is for that acronym. And it was all about, it was a very big event. It was quite long. There was lots of content in there. But one of the main things that they were going to do was, and it was quite technical, so it was all about recent update to some international clinical research guidelines. And that was what we said. It wasn't the name of the event either. I think the event was called Excellence, Global Excellence in Clinical Research, something like that. But again, it was all about, have you heard about this? Do you want to know more? Join our webinar, and people were interested. Then this was a sort of a statement. The next one is a statement taken from the actual content. So all of this so far, and it will carry on, I don't make them up. I don't just think, oh, how can I attract somebody? I actually go and read the content. I actually read the course. I sometimes speak to the team leaders behind it, and ask them what is it about. And this statement, new research shows COVID-19 is associated with a high risk of severe maternal and newborn complications. And then I introduced the course. That was actually in the introductory text to the course. Well, I think it was on the homepage of the course. Again, it's published, it's been approved. I'm not making anything up. I'm very conservative about trying to interpret information. I don't try to ever interpret scientific or academic information because it's not my expertise. But if it's already there, I can just repurpose it. And and the e-learning courses are really good at breaking things down because they are teaching material. And And then this was a survey, the next one, what are the priorities for pharmacovigilance in LMIC during the COVID-19 pandemic? And then the next one, that should be a bullet point. And that the priority, that was actually a survey. So it was not telling them, come and find out what the priorities are. What are the priorities? Do you have an opinion? Come and tell us. The next one was, what happens when antibiotics don't work? And then it's simple medical procedures and infection can become deadly. This is a statement. It was really popular. Again, I was very careful to make sure that I went back to get it approved and to make sure it was correct. And there were, when I do things like this, I do actually come, the project managers do come back and make some changes and correct me as well. The next one is a statement coming from the course itself. So an ethical research study must have a scientific integrity, etc. And then it goes to the e-learning core. And then again, why should discoveries in health research take 10 years to become a reality? This was a blog written by Professor Trudy Lang. And again, all of this is coming straight from the content. And then the next one is want to translate health research findings into policy and practice. And that was an invitation to the new Arch Hub. So these are open sentence examples. The next really important thing to do with a social media post is to include a call to action. It's really, you can do the work of a really fantastic open statement or open sentence, really fantastic question. You can get their attention. They can read all about it, but then what do they do next? And it can be a bit of a shame if you work so hard on a social media post, but then the reader doesn't have a prompt to do anything else after it. And you always want to know, what do you want them to do after reading that social media post and saying it, making it really obvious. So is it to register for an event? Is it to read the article? Is it to take the course? Is it to download the template, click on the link, complete the survey, apply for the job? And always make sure it's really clear. And it's best to keep it to one action per post, so not to put 2 links in a social media post. So it's not read here, apply there. It's just, this is what you do next. I'll talk about the caveat to this right at the end, some kind of disclaimer about call to action. But essentially, you always want to send them to your Knowledge Hub or to your event page or something that it's your social media channel. You really want to make sure that the majority of it is benefiting you and your projects and what the grant expects. So if you always want to support the grant proposal. So if it's if in the grant there's something about an event or workshop, you always want to make sure you're supporting that event or workshop by posting about the event and getting them to register for it, things like that, or to watch the replay, so that later on when you come to report on it, you have been supporting it on your social media channel. The next one is always be clear, and just it's really basic. It's include all the appropriate information concisely and tag organizations. That's when you at somebody, and only tag people who are actually involved. I know some people tag to get somebody else's attention, but I find there's not enough space to do that. And sometimes there's a bit of a confusion about, I've not really found the answer, but sometimes it's always better to just keep it to a kind of acknowledgement of who is involved, and they can all retweet and repost. Being clear and when the reader has the clarity about what's going on, that will lead to engagement. If they're not clear about what's going on, you're just asking them to switch off and go somewhere else and read the next post. And it's no use having like a very fancy, happy engaging, buzzing tone if it's not informative. And here's an example. So you can say, amazing new course, recommend it for everyone. Let's make science open. Fantastic. I love the tone, but I don't get what is going on. I just know there's some link of a new course. I don't know what link I'm supposed to click on. What's happening? I don't really know what's going on. And I'm like, okay, good for you. And then I move on to the next post. Here's the correction. This is actually a course that's coming soon on the e-learning training center. So please don't use this URL. I've made it up. So it says new free e-learning course. What is open science? Certificates available. Take the course here. It doesn't have a buzz to it, but it's clear and people will click on it if they are interested in open science. And then eventually, after a while, you can start taking content from the course and start, pulling out statements and questions around particular points in the course and posting that as well. This is another example of, this is taken from the open, so if you remember the open sentence, have you seen recent updates to clinical studies, international guidelines? And then this is quite a long post in terms of how much information there is. And I put it all in there. I add it all. This is all from LinkedIn. I put their names, I put their institutions, I put the date and time, and then the link, and then I'll probably use a hashtag as well. Again, it did quite well, this post. And this was from LinkedIn. Again, just, there's no point. I think Twitter has sort of trained our minds to be quite short and sweet, but sometimes you do need to add all the information for the benefit of everyone, because they won't, what you want them to do is to read it and decide, do I want to register for this event or do I not want to register for this event? And that's the next, and then you want to take that next step. So it's all about the open thinking, it's all about getting their attention. The middle body is about telling them what to expect and why they should join. And then the next bit is the call to action, which here is to register. Always include an image. I'm sorry I have no text on this, but I hope you understand that images are really engaging and people love to engage with, visuals and just to get their attention. I would caution having text heavy images, especially on social media. I don't know who reads posters on social media. If you do, it's very light touch in a place that's very cluttered. You don't need to add a whole paragraph in your poster. Nobody's going to read it, or I challenge anyone who says they do read it. I'm like, oh, really? Do you? The second one is, it's not accessible. Whatever is, unless you, so on Twitter, and I'm not sure if they can do this on LinkedIn or Facebook, but definitely on Twitter, possibly on Facebook, there is an option that when you add an image, you can insert an alternative text and then include all the information that's on the image into that text. But really, that should be in the post itself rather than in the image. And the image should be just highlighting the main bits of information that they can see and be attracted to join. So hashtags. I have to admit, before I say this, I'm not a complete expert on hashtags. I sort of know this from doing rather than studying. So I would say include a hashtag in your post, but only if it's already used in the content you're posting, in the context you're posting in. So let's say ethics, for example, that's definitely a common hashtag. People are using it, and people use it to discover posts on the topic they're interested in. So people will say, oh, I'm interested in ethics. I'll have a search on what hashtags are on ethics. And it's also a good way to be a part of a trending conversation. And people, you'll get noticed. It's all about discoverability. It's not really about popularizing your post or making it, or if it's not a well-crafted post and it's not an engaging post to begin with your followers, it won't be any more engaging if you add a hashtag. And I would use it sparingly and strategically. And before you do use a hashtag, just check it out. So go on to your social media platform and just search the hashtag itself and just see what comes up. And I will do this for acronyms, and I will do this for topics that are quite niche. So, for example, newborns is one that I've searched before, and it comes up as, it's quite you won't always get scientific content on there, and there's no right or wrong, but it's just checking to see if the hashtag is not used anywhere else for a different way. Do you want to be involved in that kind of conversation, or do you want to be involved in that bubble? And then, think about who you want to attract and who you don't want to attract. And then sometimes if there is 2 hashtags that you want to choose from, just have a search and see how many results come up on each one and just choose the more popular one. And if you are going to add a hashtag, don't clog your post with the hashtag. And if it is going to be in a sentence, use it once, maybe twice, but for the most part once, so that it doesn't look like it's it comes across as a bit spammy when you use lots of hashtags. Like it doesn't look very great. So that's that on hashtags. And then the last point I've mentioned before, which is, it's not what makes your post popular, it's what makes them discoverable. And it's when people engage and they share your content and they go, oh, I like this, and then they like it, and then the people who follow them see it, then they like it, and then it cascades from there. The other one is share old resources. So just because a resource launched 3 years ago, or there's an event that you did last year, it doesn't mean it's no longer relevant for social media. People are still looking for it, they still need it, they still want it, and they've just not yet found it. And you'll know if something is, you can test it, you can always test old resources. You'll have more experience with these resources, you'll know if they're popular or not. You get your analytical reports every month and you can see what people are interested in. And it means that you drive more traffic to whatever's already on your knowledge hub. So it's not just about launching it and that's it. It's going back and seeing what's there and bringing it back for people to discover. And again, a lot of the posts that I showed you in the beginning with the open sentences, a lot of them aren't new stuff that we just launched. They're actually old things that have been around on the Global Health Network for several years now. But they're still really interesting and people are still like, oh wow, this exists. And then they click on it and it's all good. Old doesn't mean irrelevant. It's still relevant for a lot of people. And I'd just look through all your content and see what's worth sharing on your social media channels. The other one is ask for help. One of the really easy ways is when one of your colleagues in another organization or another one of your collaborators or members or followers shares your content on social media, so repost. There's a lot, for example, I see a lot on social media. I don't have time to look at it quite extensively every day, but I will repost every now and then. But if I do get an email from somebody, I always like it when they just say, here's the link to the post, and then I can just click on it and retweet it straight away. I don't really do much after that. So it's always nice to help the person you're asking help from, to make it easy for them, so they don't need to do much more than click a click. And there's not much to say on this except that it's a really, really good way of increasing how many people see your post. Post regularly. It's no use to only post when you've got something that you want people to do. It's like any relationship, it needs to be nurtured over time. You can't just post whenever you need something or taking something. You always need to offer your audience something, can grow the audience and nurture and share all content, share what's going on. And then when you need it and when the time comes, if you've got like a survey or an event or a really high profile paper that you want to promote, you've already got an engaged audience there ready to engage with whatever you have to share in a time when you need it. And it does take a couple of months to several years to get this going. And I wouldn't worry about how many followers you have. It's about the quality of engagement that you have with those followers and whether they are actually interested in finding what you have to say useful. And then it just grows exponentially from there. Just every so often I look at our social media channels and I just keep an eye on what's popular, what people are interested in. And here is a good list of topics. And it's all about free e-learning courses, jobs. People love jobs, and people love funding opportunities, and resources and events. And you'll see here, there is nothing about surveys. They're not that popular. But if you just drip feed it in between all of these, you might, you'll get some engagement there. So a disclaimer, I've said everything that that these are all the recommendations that I have. However, you could do everything right and you can follow all the steps and it still won't land. And by land, for me, it means only 400 people will see it as opposed to 1,000 people will see it, or one person will like it as opposed to 20 people liking it. It's not bad. It's still a good result. 400 people is still really good compared to no one. And it's really learning by doing, that you really work out what people are interested in, what your audience are like, what they prefer, what time of day works for them, how many posts a day works as well. Sometimes it's just the content is too niche and not many people in the world are actually interested, not so much interested, but it's just not a concept that a lot of people know about or understand, and sometimes you need to go back a step and explain what the resource is all about. Other times that 400 is fine. It's all that's needed for that event or that resource or that course or whatever. It's not, that's all that you need. It ticks a box for you. The other one is, I mentioned in the beginning, you have to always include a call to action. Sometimes you don't really have a call to action. Sometimes you just need to say something. So for example, you'll be highlighting that you are in a conference. There's not really, on Twitter, for example, it's all about being seen to be involved and collaborating with all your colleagues in all the organizations. And it's a very corporate academic feel to it. You won't really tell people, oh, come and sign up for the conference. It's not really your conference that you're organizing. It's a wider thing, but it's just to be seen as involved in, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, you don't have to, you don't actually have to, you know, say anything more. That could all be it, and it's completely fine. So not everything needs to have a call to action, but I do see more times than not that a call to action could be included where it isn't. I think that's all from me. So I'll open the floor for any questions if you have any.
Hi, Zainab. I'm not sure. Should I just unmute and ask?
Go for it.
Okay. So thank you for this presentation. It was really interesting. One thing that I found particularly challenging over the past 2 years is how to have successful attendance for events when everybody is so, you know, Zoom tired. And I was just wondering if you could, well, building on your experience, how did you manage to, you know, set goals and in this challenging time actually get over this Zoom tiredness and get, you know, the number of attendees that you really wanted through social media? Thank you.
A very good question, and I see Dennis has liked it as well. We have also found that recently as well, especially in the last quarter of this year, the attendance has reduced, and we also think it might be the same thing, that it was a mixture of people going back to hybrid working, and also, well, now we're working from home in the UK, but with the Omicron development, and we did see a reduction. So there's two parts to that answer. We've also found the same thing, and actually as a team we are looking to review everything, and just to see what, because we have a survey that we do after each event, and we haven't really analysed any of the information, the feedback that we've got, and we are intending, not promising, but intending to just have a look at all that feedback that we've received, and just to see what works and what doesn't, and analyse all our attendance. So we don't have an answer to how to combat that. But the other comment that I want to make is the majority of event registrations don't come from social media. A lot of them do, but not the majority. The majority comes from newsletters, and that's probably a topic for another day in the coordinators forum. Emails really, and by newsletter I mean emails to your membership, email, you know, having regular contact with them. And I think even Maria, you can attest to this in terms of, you know, attendance to the Brain Infection Global, and maybe somebody from Academics Ethics is here as well. But again, if you don't email your membership, you won't get much in terms of engagement with the event itself.
Yeah, totally agree. I think that's definitely helped us in terms of numbers, I think, because the mailing list is massive. And I think also I mean, you can again then confer, but I think events then also help grow the mailing list again. So it's kind of an ongoing process. Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm totally with you, Liliana. We have that challenge as well in terms of Zoom fatigue. It hasn't really affected, having said all of that, it hasn't affected the level of engagement with our event. Funnily enough, the ones that I shared with you as being one of the most popular in this presentation are the ones that we did in the last quarter, and they were still quite popular on LinkedIn, and people were really interested in. So yeah, we don't have a complete answer, but we have some comment. I hope that's helpful in some way.
No, definitely helpful. I think that actually you actually touch a good point, because our mail list is very short, or it's very small, because we only email our members. So obviously having only 70 people on that mail list is, it's not going to create a huge amount of engagement on that. So maybe building a newsletter that could be disseminated to a wider public audience, that might be the way to go. So thank you for that.
Okay. Eva Maria, the floor is
yeah,
yours.
Liliana, do you do events? So what we have done is, when people register for an event, they can click to become a member, and then they get added to the mailing list.
Well, Esoteric is a complex organization, in the sense that to become a member is not necessarily just clicking. So it's a whole process where they need to be part of a network of networks, and they need to apply to be a member, and then we add them to the mail list. So it's something that I've been kind of struggling a little bit. I wanted to propose for Esoteric to actually have two mail lists, one that would be exclusively for members, and then another one that would be for a wider audience, and that one would just have things that would not necessarily just be for the members that we have. But thank you.
Great conversation. There's more that we can talk about with that, and I think it's we can pencil it down as a topic for another coordinated forum presentation. Does anybody else have any questions or comments or experience they can share in terms of, this is my experience with social media? Okay, so we have a question from Stephanie. Please, could I ask if you can offer any advice on setting short and long-term goals and smart targets for using social media to help assess how successful the channel is? Smart being the usual SMART goals in terms of specific, measurable, achievable, all of that kind of stuff. I don't know where to start with that one, and I'll tell you why. I don't actually have any goals with my social media. So this is how I look at it. I look at the Global Health Network in general. So we have about 80 plus collaborators, 50 knowledge hubs, 100,000 members. There's so many things going on. Social media is just but one small element of what we do. And we don't have a social media manager. I'm the digital communications coordinator, so this is only one bit of what I do. And in fact, funnily enough, I don't actually have a written goal down for what I want to do with social media. What I tend to do is, and we're very, very lucky, we're quite different to a lot of other organizations and a lot of other research groups. The Global Health Network itself has a very rich amount of resources that are really useful for lots of people. So I don't really have to, for a lot of other organizations, their strategy would be something like, we need to create this so that we can post it on LinkedIn or whatever. I don't really need to worry about that bit. That's what all of you guys do and all of your teams do. I just take what I think is appropriate, relevant, interesting, and then I attend all our team meetings and all of that, and I see what's priority and what's going on, and then I post it on social media. In terms of measuring our performance, I look at how many people share and how many people click on a link. And then I'm like, oh, this is interesting. If somebody's sharing something, because not many people share things. So a lot of people like things. But when something is shared, it's like, I really want all of my followers to see this. It's really important. It's really interesting. And then I sort of have an idea of, oh, this is an interesting topic, and this is a really good way of writing it. And the other thing is, we don't have it written anywhere in our grant or in our proposal or in our, that we need to have this many followers by this time. We actually have other priorities, which are to drive traffic to our knowledge hubs and things like that, and to grow our membership. So I tend to make sure that if you want to call it, my number one strategy has always been to drive traffic to our website and to drive traffic to our events and resources. And long-term wise, it's always been just to make sure I do it regularly, so that I don't, so that I'm not doing the really strange thing of posting whenever I need something from someone. So yeah, and the other one is, I always make sure that I never commit to anything that's not manageable. So if there's no point in writing a goal that says, oh, I'm going to do 5 posts a week, when I physically cannot do 5 posts a week because there's so many other things going on, or I'm working on the annual report that time and it will just drop. If I just say I'll do 3 times a week or a handful of times a week, and I could get on with other things. The other really good thing or helpful thing that I have found is to draft a bunch of social media posts in advance, and then to use them and post them whenever you've got time to do that. I'm sorry that doesn't answer your question in terms of SMART targets or goals. And again, I assess how successful we are based on shares and clicks to the link, and our engagement rate as well. And engagement rate is all about how many people saw it and how many, and then measuring that against how many of those people actually engage with the post by either clicking, liking, sharing, or commenting, which nobody tends to do, but we get some here and there. We have another comment that says, from Nashion, we have a research network Twitter account, but rarely do we post anything there. How do we come up with a strategy to keep followers engaged? Good question. Is there anything that's already out there about your research network that you can always post? So, for example, if you've got a research network, that means there's a bunch of researchers in that group with a bunch of papers that they've already published, and possibly some interviews that they've already done, and things like that. Do they have any resources that they've already shared? Is there anything that they already work on and that they posted on the Global Health Network? So, for example, if one of your researchers has published a protocol on the Global Health Network, could you maybe post that on your Twitter account? What's your Twitter account, by the way? I'll have a look at it now.
Yeah, it's at Chain Network.
What was that?
Chain Network.
Can you type it into the chat box, please?
Yeah, let me type it on there.
And the other one is, it's really difficult. That's the other difficult thing about a research network, is that the research is ongoing. So the chain, for example, that's a research that is actually being conducted at the moment. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yeah. We have we do have some work that has ended. Like we have a cohort that we concluded last year, and we're now publishing some papers. Some have already gone out, some are still in the pipeline. Yeah, but we can post the results of those, but the problem is we don't keep engaging like regularly, so we don't have any strategy to like communicate. So I don't know how to do that.
The other thing you need to ask is in your group as well, and with your network as well, is why are you on Twitter? Why are you on social media? What is it that you actually want to gain out of it? Because I imagine Twitter isn't a place where you're engaging with the participants of the research. It's engaging with other academics.
Exactly, it's mainly for the academics.
So it looks really nice. I think you've got a nice bunch of stuff on here, and like I said, just it is that's the other thing, that is the limit of social media as well. If you haven't got much going on, how do you keep going, and how do you justify keeping going? But again, I think what you've got here is a conversation between academics, which is it looks like you're doing the job of what you're meant to be doing personally, and also you could possibly add to the conversation. You're doing a lot of retweets of relevant information. You could actually highlight some of the papers and then add the link to those papers. And I know that in the background, there's some work about posters coming out from your group as well, or some community engagement work that you might be sharing soon, and some papers coming out. So yeah, I think you're in a good place.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for those suggestions.
You're welcome. No problem. And it's really hard to say, and that's the other caveat that I want to say is, you can do everything and nothing with social media. So there's so many things you can do, but if you don't know what you want out of it or what you want to do, it's hard to get down to it and focus. And it might take you a couple of months to discover what it is that you want to keep doing.
Yeah, true. At the moment, I think, as you see here, we just update whenever we have an event or somebody has done something. So it's just ad hoc.
Yeah. Do you know what it is that you're meant to be doing?
Yeah, I think what we need to be doing is generate more awareness on the activities that we are doing, so people can know what the chain network does.
I would definitely recommend starting a newsletter then. So having a newsletter or a quarterly newsletter where you get a roundup of everything that's happening on the chain network. So like, any of the, if you reach a milestone in terms of how many people have joined a study, or, a researcher has been involved in this meeting or that conference, you can have it in that newsletter and people can find out via email as well. So Twitter isn't your only source. And the other thing I would say, thankfully, it's not happened to us. We've never had our channel, touch wood, I don't want to jinx it, but nothing bad has ever happened to our channel. It's not been deleted, or we haven't had a post reported or things like that. There are some organisations, reputable organisations like Cochrane, that had a post deleted or something, or maybe their account, I can't remember what it was, but it was something to do with COVID or something, and they ran into some trouble with the social media algorithm. So it can be taken away from you. It's not yours, so to speak. Your newsletter, your email list is yours. It does belong to you. It's ironic that I'm doing the whole social media thing and then I'm saying, actually, you need a newsletter. I would definitely champion having, even if it's a small one like Islamic, where it's 70 people, you still get the attention of those 70 people that could be very important to your group. and you don't have to worry about Twitter changing their algorithms or Facebook changing their algorithms. I know from conversations with other communications officers and managers in the university, Facebook has made it harder and harder for you to reach your own followers. So you might have 6,000 followers, but only 300 people will see your post, and that seems a bit strange that you have that many people and not many people actually see what you write. And it's because they're trying to get more people paying for their posts, paying to boost the post. So the rules change, and it's not yours, it's not your platform. So that probably I'd add that to the last slide of mine where I say all disclaimers, is that you can't just export all your followers to another network, and you can't export them to your mailing list. So you don't have direct ownership of it. So it has its uses, but it's not your whole communication strategy. Any other questions? We are getting to the top of the hour. Oh, thanks for joining, Liz.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye.
Zainab, I was going to say, just in connection to what you're talking about, just mentioning how we use Hootsuite as a way of sort of scheduling social media posts, so that you can have a kind of calendar in a way. You can, in advance map out when you might be posting certain things. Hootsuite's not the only example, but I mean that's the one that we use. But that's a good way of perhaps thinking about how to post things over a period of time.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's awesome. Can you share a link or something? I've never heard of it.
I'll share my screen. Let me share the right screen. So this is Hootsuite. You can log in and go to your dashboard, and you schedule. If on a full account, you can schedule about 5 or 6 posts, and then you can choose whatever day. You can just start scheduling, and then writing down. Sorry, I need a drink of water. So you can start writing down the post and choosing where it goes. You can also directly schedule on Twitter as well. So that's a new thing that Twitter offers. So there's a little, you can start writing, and then you can click on this calendar icon and it says schedule, and then you can choose when it goes out as well. So you don't need to do that. The only problem with Twitter is it's really hard for some reason. For me, I've never really worked it out, but it's really hard to find it, go back and find what I've scheduled.
Yeah.
And on Facebook as well, you can directly.
So with the Hootsuite account, you can post both on Facebook and Twitter at the same time. I tend to imagine.
Yes, you can. However, I never do. I tend to do Facebook and LinkedIn at the same time, and Twitter I do separately, because Twitter has a limited characters, and
okay.
I have to limit what I say on Twitter, and sometimes I have more information, so I go on Facebook, and then the other one is you can also tag people. So if I go change network,
okay,
I can, Hootsuite will pull them and I can tag you directly on there. But if I add Facebook onto that list, then I sort of lost the tag properly. So it tells me here you have an unlinked Facebook mention. So it's a bit, I prefer to use them separately, is what I'm saying, because I can have more control of what I'm posting and how I'm doing it. Yeah, so thanks, Adam. That's a good suggestion. it's not a way to kickstart, I think. I don't know. Maybe you do want to start scheduling your social media posts. Yeah, that's a helpful thing. And it also means you don't spend hours scrolling on Twitter and getting distracted. You've just got this external piece where there's a bit more control in terms of what you see and what happens.
Thank you. I think it's a good app.
You're very welcome. On that note, we'll say happy holidays, everyone. Hope you all have a lovely Christmas. Happy New Year. And I think I'm not leaving. My weekends this week, and I'm going on holiday. So whenever, I hope you all have a nice rest, and I'll see you in the new year.
Thank you, Zainab. Have a lovely festive break. I hope you enjoy. Bye-bye.
So much.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you, Zainab. Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you.